Can you make fire beats with just the stock plugins that come with your MPC?
I don't believe it.
That is why you fail.
Just because you get inspired quicker from the sounds you hear in one plugin, that doesn't mean you can't get good sounds out of the other. It really just shows the gap in your learning to only make something out of something versus something out of nothing. So in today's video, we're going to take on the challenge to only use the sounds that came with the MPC when you first get it, and we're going to make a beat and see if it's really about the gear or the person behind it. All right, so first let's go to our plugin option, and that's going to be this icon in the middle right here. That's the plug symbol, and where it says none, this is where you're going to click to get to the actual plugins. It only really starts off with 3.
Wow, man. Damn.
So yes, you are a bit limited when you first starting out, but nothing less, let's pick one. I don't think I'm gonna go with electric because I don't want only just electric sounds. I'm gonna go with tube synth. And then at the bottom, this is where you get to choose the presets. And I'm just gonna go to a pad. I want something more like subtle. Not very high pitch. So let's keep going through. Oh yeah, so from here we're gonna go to shift and 16 levels to get the pad perform. And this time we're gonna start off with our progressions. Chord progressions are good to start off with because it could take any basic sound to really sound really good because of the full layers that you have, because it's a chord, there's more than 3 notes that's stacked on top of each other. And also if you think about it on the frequency spectrum, it fills out a bit of those lows, a bit of those mids and highs. So that's why I say you get a more full sound that makes any sound really sound good. And I'm actually switch this to C sharp because that's just one of the keys that I like to play in. And from here you can pick different chord options. They got gospel. I'm gonna go with gospel because if you want like a Drake style or a Beethoven style, they use very complex chords that you will hear in jazz. And gospel and jazz kind of have similarities to me. And that's what it comes down to, what you hear in your mind and what you choose to associate with other things. That's how you really come up with your own musical mind versus just only listen to what people are saying and then you're only taking on their perception of how they see music. So godly, let's see how that sounds. Ooh. Yeah, nice chords, and we have a sound. And we have 70 BPM, so go to our grid view, and then I'm just gonna record something in. So you see how the ends need to be edited? We could just highlight those, go to edit end, and then bring those, and then bring the last ones over. So now we have a good harmony going. And this is sounding more like an intro to me. So what I'm gonna actually do is a different workflow in the sense of, I will call it the standard workflow, because as we make the beat, we're gonna also build out the song with our sequences. But before that, let's just hear what else we can do to like make the sound more interesting. So off the back, I always think about a filter or something to just give it an extra oomph. Let's try like a talk box. See, something like that, man. You just gotta experiment and listen. Yeah, that's hard too. I'm gonna keep that one. And then from here, now what we can do is copy the sequence over. So we're gonna go to the pencil tool and then go to copy sequence. So usually in songwriting, you will have the intro, the hook, then your verse, and then back to the hook, and then another verse if you have that, and then back to the hook, then the outro. That's like super standard, obviously not including the pre-chorus and the bridge, but this is a good structure for trap music. Trap music is more likely like this. You don't always have to get fancy. Press do it, and then do it. I just want to go back to sequence 1 and name that the intro. And you're going to see why this workflow is so good once you built out all the sequence. Then for the hook now, I can switch it up and have a different sound. So for this one, I want to use a different plugin. So I'm going to also go to a different track. And then I'm going to press this plus sign. And we're just going to go back into tube synth. Go back into pad and see what other sounds we can find. Yeah, these sounds is crazy, bro. And it's not always that the sounds are bad, it's more so like, does it fit the beats that you're trying to make or the vibe that you're trying to create? Oh, Lo-fi pad sounds sick. So let's go back to shift 16 levels and mess around with the chords. So the last ones we used was C sharp minor, go into A, and then this G sharp 7 with C at the bottom. So then we could probably even switch up the chords to get a different feel, and that would just make your beat sound even more crazy. That's fire, and that works because we're still using those two chords and we just switch one of the chords out. So let's record that in. And before we record, let's just go back to track 1 and make sure we erase the chords from track 1 since we copied over the sequence. We always just got to remember that. And that's all I need because I'm just going to copy it over. But first, let's just edit those ends. Use the select tool, then just highlight all of them and then press copy. Now you have the complete 4 bars. So we could go to our drums, go to track 3, go back to our drum program. Let's see what they have. So we're going to go to the content. Now from the drums, they have a lot of kits. Like, I don't know if you could read this, but it says 492. So you're starting off with a lot of kits right now. And all you have to do is just go to the samples to like get the one shot. So they have like vintage and different genres. You could just come up to the search directory and I could just type in trap. And to even get more specific, get the actual drum that you're trying to find. So in this case, I'm trying to get a kick. So I could do trap kick. And these don't sound bad. These actually sound quality. And I kind of like this one right here. So we could just hit this pad and press load. We could even go for our snare, and I could just leave in trap and then put in snare, playing context. Ooh, that one already sounds nice. A rise snare. And it got the reverb on it. And another thing I like about the expansion is it got rolls for you. And you may be all in your head like, nah, I could do my own rolls and stuff like that. But if you're finger drumming, it just makes it more convenient. Sometimes delegating your work doesn't mean that it makes you less of a musician. You gotta get out of your ego. So let's record something in. Yeah, it's starting off basic, and I might just add in a kick right here. See, you really don't need a lot of sounds to get a nice drum bounce. You just really need quality sounds that mesh well together. Those two things. Because watch when I throw the hi-hats over it now. So you can just tap it out like this. But you can also just use note repeat as well. And just have it like that. And matter of fact, I'm kind of not liking the reverb with the hi-hat. I just want it to be a bit more tighter. And also, I still want to have control if I do want to put reverb later. But usually, I don't even have reverb on my hats anyway when I'm making my trap beats. And also because that snare reverb just stands out. I don't want another reverb that just have a different kind of timing and that will clash with the snares. Probably this first one. Nice. Let's add in our open hi-hats. So having the open hats on that downbeat, that's a common pattern. It's good to know common patterns because then it's like puzzle play. And then I could also pull in patterns that I like too. So I like that snare bounce that I call the Drake bounce because it's like boom, ta, 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 ta. You know, a lot of you guys heard that if you know the old Drake. So let's go shift menu. And let's go back to a snare. Nice. I was trying to do something at the end. Just gotta go fix that, but I think I want to add just another slight snare right there and just add a low volume too. Maybe just move this a bit more. So nudge that probably like right there. Probably even put down the velocity for this one right here. Now, if you having a hard time, cause on a couple of these calls that I do, I see some of you guys have a hard time with the touchscreen. Don't be afraid of just like going to the zoom tool and just going crazy and zooming that far in. Go to automation, and even with the automations, cause now I can zoom in that close to make sure I'm not hitting any other note. That's just changing the level to give a bit of that bounce. So I kind of wanted those to land right here. Like I could just hear it in my head. So I could just nudge this over and copy it and just nudge it over. Yeah. But I don't want it to be that loud. So let's go into the mix and turn down that shaker. Probably like 4 dB, 3 dB. Yeah, that's starting to hit. So then we could just name that. We got our drums going. Now we can bring in our final element, which is the bass. And for this, I'm just gonna use the plugin as well. So we could just go over to our plugins. And you always wanna make sure you're adding a new plugin program, because then you will overwrite the next one if you're not aware. So go to bassline. For this, since it's just very atmospheric and like very moody, you know, a good sub bass would sound right with this. It don't always have to be an 808. And I'm gonna start off with the square, because the square just has more harmonics. And we just want to drop the octaves low. And also go back into our notes, but we gotta go a bit lower. There we go. From track 2, copy the track to track 4, because remember, track 3 is our drum, track 4 will be our bass line, and we could just name that bass. Now keep in mind, it copied over the plugin, so you want to go to the different program of the bass, which is 03, and we will still have the MIDI now. But from here, we just want to erase these top notes. So cut that and cut that. This is just a quick way to have like a bass line off the bat. So we want to go to transpose, so we can go down. And then you could add in like what they call grace notes, which is a note that just go into another note in a sense. The only thing is we just got to make sure we're in the right key. So that's an F. It would sound better with E. Because that's part of the scale. And we could try the E up here as well. Maybe just have one be high pitch and the other one be low pitch. And this is how I think about variations, like subtle differences like that make a big difference. And then from here, you could always just keep getting more creative. So I could just copy this over and then do hook part 2. And the reason why I'm naming it part 2 or hook 2, because usually a hook is 8 bars, and remember these sequences are only 4 bars. We can switch them into 8. I could just do that. Now a melody could be really simple, man. I could easily just come up here and just copy this track to, let's say, track number 5, and call this our melody. Go to track 5, and remember, add a new plugin. And I know the motive pads sound decent. And then we have the chords right here, but I'll probably bring this up an octave so that it's not sharing that same frequency range. So going up here to this F sharp. So for the melody part, what I like to do is this trick where it's like, you could just take like the top notes and then just kind of move them around. I'm not gonna mess with this part because I could just copy this over. I could just nudge this a bit, changing the starting points, man. Trust me, this trick, it just works gold, man. So I could just move this over. And then I actually might just change this out for the electric plugin. I think now we could just add in something a bit different. it sounds something. So I don't want it to overlap. Yeah. And then you could just cut that, copy that over, and then just nudge it. And then look at this. Now you have a melody that you could just play. You could just solo that other sound. And then obviously there's that empty space. So what you can do is just get creative and use a delay. That one is dope. I think I would just turn down the mix for that. And then from here, you're pretty much golden. You could just copy this sequence over again and then name this the verse part. And then here's what you can do with the contrast for the verse. Go back to that first melody. Make sure you delete the MIDI that you're not using in the sequence that you copied over. And then go back to our chords, 16 levels, progression, remember C sharp, godly. I could even do something like. And then if we look at our chords, and I also had it on full level too. I didn't realize that. And then for the edit ends, we can just do that real fast. And then what I can do, again, is just copy that track to the bass track. And make sure I still name it bass. It's still gonna use that same plugin, so we just gotta make sure we swap that out. Swap the different program out for the bass. So then go into our grid view, do the same thing, take off these top notes, cut those, drop these an octave, and we can even layer that chord progression again on top of that melody. But this time what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring it up the octave, but I want to keep the same note and I want to edit the ends so that it's not like being dragged out. So this is what I mean. You could just experiment of moving your notes around. It may sound good, it may sound bad, as long as you're not going into random spots. I'm still landing on the 16 notes. I'm not going in between 32 notes. And this is just me, the speed running through. I'm not even like really thinking. I'm letting my mind just flow. I'm not trying to be very logical and technical about everything. Since it's at C sharp, let's probably move it a bit down. Let's see how that would sound. And I could even pencil tool and duplicate this program to add another effect. We can maybe even get crazy and throw like a half speed on it. Let's see how that would sound. So you probably won't hear that, but let's transpose it up 12. And that just means going up an octave. And we can even switch the sound. You know, this is what music is about, man. I'm just vibing and going with the flow. Sometimes you would switch out the sound, sometimes you don't. And that could be like a subtle sound in the background. And the reason why I say making your beat and building it at the same time is gonna be a lot easier workflow is because when you go to menu, go to song, and then I could just press overdub and just add in all the sequence. And this is how you create a whole song. And then you could convert it into a whole song and put it on an SD card. Now, if you wanna learn how to do all of that, you could just watch that video next.